When fishing with lures for freshwater predators like the pike, perch and zander, it's very important to pick a lure with the right body profile. If you look in your local tackle shop or in a catalogue, you'll see lures with all sorts of body profiles, ranging from long, thin shapes to really fat body shapes. But in between is my favourite, which I call the shad shape, and it's a profile that resembles the sort of fish that the predators are seen naturally when they're out hunting. And what I'm going to do now is go through a few of my favourites, make a few casts and try and find one that is the right lure for the day. And it's not just as simple as picking the right body profile, there's other things to consider. You need the right diving depth, you need the right collar and the right action. So let's put a few of them through the paces and see what the pike think about them. Well, the first lure I've chosen is this little 8cm shallow X-wrap, and it's in a perch pattern. And the reason I've chosen this is that this lake here, which I'm about to fish, is absolutely full of little perch, about this size. So the pike are used to seeing natural fish that look like this lure. I've chosen the shallow diving version. This will go down 3 or 4 feet, and that's about the depth I've got here down to the weed. And it would be a good choice anyway, because perch pattern works really well in gin clear water, and believe me, water doesn't come much clearer than this water here. Because the water is very, very clear, the pike are going to get a really good look at this lure, so presentation is really important. I've really got to think about what I'm doing, and I've started off with quite a fine wire trace, and let's give it a try. Let's see if I can tempt a pike on it. First cast, I'm not going to go too far. There could be pike quite close in here. I'm keeping the rod tip high because it's quite shallow in the edge. I'm trying to keep the lure just above the weed line. And I must say it looks very, very good. I'm feeling very confident with this lure. It's actually a very, very slow sinking lure, so this will give me the chance now, because the water's cold, it'll give me a chance to let it sink slowly down to the weed line, and then I can twitch it along just above the weed. If you're unsure about what the lure's doing, always have a look in the margin first. And once you're confident of what it does in the margin, you can be quite happy to cast it quite a distance, knowing exactly what it's going to do. And as I say, this sinks very, very slowly, and I can twitch it very naturally just above the weed. I'm going to go a bit further out now, and I'm happy in the knowledge that this is sinking very slowly. I'm just twitching it just above the weed line. I've just felt it touch weed there, so I'm going to start just flicking the rod tip to keep it just above the weed, but not working it too fast because the water is very cold. It's important when you're fishing in cold water not to be in too much of a hurry. The bait fish tend to be moving around quite slowly, if at all, and the pike are expecting to see fish moving quite slowly. And of course, when it's cold, the pike do everything quite slowly themselves. I can see the lure coming in. It's looking very natural. There's no weed caught up on it, but there's no pike following it. Oh, yes. Oh, that was a lovely bite. Well, a move of swim has paid off. I've tried the last swim quite extensively and just didn't seem to be any pike in it, but first cast into this new swim and bang, straight into one. It is important to choose the right lure, but it's also important to pick a swim that's got plenty of pike in. Quite often location is more important than choosing the right lure. Oh, lovely fish. You can see to taking it across the lure, obviously mistaking it for one of the many little perch that's in this lake. So a good choice of lure, I think, and a beautiful pike to show for it. Oh, God, just missed one right under the rod tip. They really want this lure. I'm just having a bit of bad luck at the moment. Well, that one really got my heart going. I've obviously picked a lure that they want. I'm just going to persevere, try and pick one more off. At the moment, I'm using the perch pattern, but it does pay to change the lure. Oh, maybe not just yet, another one's taken the perch pattern. Sometimes it's the right body profile but the wrong colour, so if this wasn't working I'd probably try the roach pattern, and I might even put a bright one on, the maybe the golden coloured one. Oh, I can't think of anything better to be doing on a cold winter's day than catching pike on a lure rod. And for these smaller lures, all you want is a little 10 to 30 gram casting weight rod, like this Technium. That's a slightly better fish. Oh. Naturally, I've got a wire trace, 30-pound breaking strain, multi-strand wire, and I'm using 30-pound Power Pro braid, and with minimal stretch in the braid I can feel every bite really sharply. Now I've got to be really careful with this one. You'll notice I'm not netting it because the hooks are exposed. So what I tend to do is grab them around the back of the neck and get a firm grip, and you really need to get a firm grip. It's no good just letting them hang on your fingers, you've got to grip them very firmly. This one's behaving itself, but sometimes they can flip out of your hand. So for my own safety I've got a good grip, and for the pike's safety I'm holding it out over the water, so if I did drop it, it would just go in the water. So there we are, another beautiful gravel pit pike caught on the shallow X-Wrap. Obviously a lure that's working well today. Maybe one more cast.